curious case of the Defocus Smoothing. I just explained in my review for the standard 85mm lens that for me, for now, this lens fails on the case of my budget and my need, and the Rokinon 85mm 1.4 fills in the want that I have for the longer, faster prime. An early spoiler, same thing with this DS version of the lens. However, if that changes in the future, will it be for me? These lenses are almost identical in just about every single way, but the two things that they differ on are one, the look of the out of focus areas, aka the defocus smoothing, and two, the amount of light which is available through each, despite the similar f1.2 apertures. Unfortunately, we don't get a physical switch where we can have it both ways, as this look is achieved through special coatings on lens elements. In terms of light, this is more like an f2. When wide open, you'll get 1.3 fewer stops of light. So your DS 1.2, in terms of light and settings, is going to act more like an f2. And just as a note, I'll refer to the 85mm defocus smoothing version of the lens as the DS and the traditional 85 as the 85 throughout this video. I started with the light over the look, as that's the more important aspect for me. It's one of the reasons that I traded my EF 100mm macro for the Samyang Rokinon 85 f1.4 instead of the Canon f2. If I ever do buy one of these bad boys, I think I will opt for the light. I think if I'm going to carry this around, it's because I want to get some of the cleanest images at the lowest ISOs in the darkest places. This is what I should have rented when shooting casually at my friend's wedding from a distance in low light. And even though an f2 is still fast and kind of a bummer in my eyes, this might actually be an advantage when shooting video, as it acts as an internal ND filter. And PolarPro sponsored these two 85mm videos by gifting me a Peter McKinnon Variable ND Mist Edition 2, a quartz line mist, and a 77 to 82mm step-up ring. When you need to shoot wide open in bright light, and the light loss of the DS doesn't quite cut it, consider supporting them as they've supported me. So that's the light. The look is different, and I think if you want something that subtly differentiates you from other photographers, this is probably one of the ways that you can achieve that. Because generally, after shooting with both, I'm kind of ambivalent, honestly. I think many of us are accustomed to the traditional look of our out of focus areas. They are larger on the 85 and they're familiar. And so when I was carrying both of these around, I never felt that feeling of, ooh, let me shoot this on the DS. And I think that was disappointing for me. I wanted to have that feeling, I kind of expected to have that feeling, and I just never got it. Where the DS excels is when your out of focus areas are particularly messy. Think trees in a forest, many small bright details, branches, wires, things like that. That's where this really shines, but in my mind, it's not as if I'm disgusted by the way the out of focus areas look with the 85. Even in messy backgrounds, the traditional 1.2 look does a lot to help your subject stand out. So for me, I understand it. Using the DS to achieve this look is way more legitimate than, changing the SA control on the new RF 100mm macro. I haven't used that personally, that's just based on reviews that I've seen so far, but I'm opting for saving the light and saving the $300 extra if I opt for one of these lenses down the road in the future. And one last thing to note, Canon says these basically operate as the same lens with apertures of 3.2 and smaller, but from a look perspective, it's really that f1.2 through f1.8, in my opinion, that differs drastically, and even by 2.8, everything is looking quite similar. Either way, I love a fast 85. Unfortunately, two of these have to go back to lens rentals, and if you only ever leave one comment on any of my videos, let me know what you think about the DS version below. If you're brand new here, my name's Dan. I review Canon RF glass in the context of my full kit. Stick around and watch another video.